Oh, I see Dwyane Wade being gone. There's no way in hell he's going to stay in Chicago for this year. Dwyane Wade is a three-time champion. He's one of the greatest players we've seen in NBA history. He's a future Hall of Famer, first ballot. There's nothing to talk about here. He was also a closer and a winner. It is shameful that he is on a team, in this state of affairs that it doesn't happen to be the Miami Heat. He needs to be gone. As far as I'm concerned, he should have never been there to begin with. And so here's what's going to happen. Somehow, within the next couple of months, the only reason he ain't being brought out now is because Chicago Bulls are notoriously cheap. Reinsdorf ain't about paying you for being someplace else or paying you for services not rendered. That's not what he likes to do. I'm not saying it couldn't change. Anything could happen. But I fully expect Dwyane Wade to be gone by the NBA trading deadline, if not before. And it's only going to be to one or two places. He is going to go back to Miami because they're going to hold that mid-level exception for Dwyane Wade. Pat Riley and them know they should have never lost him. Pat Riley and them know they should never let that man walk out the door. Yeah, they both played a role in it to some degree, but the bottom line is he should have been treated and appreciated a little bit better. He is D. Wade. That is Wade County, and they would have been in the playoffs last year had he been in Miami. But since that did not happen, they're gonna realize the error of their ways, and they're gonna make sure they get him back. It'll either be this season or he'll make a pit stop in Cleveland for one final championship run with LeBron James before going back to Miami. But he will end up back in Miami because, damn it, that's where he belongs, and they are not the same without him, period. He will end up being a Miami Heat. He just might make a pit stop in Cleveland with his boy LeBron for a championship run beforehand. Maybe, maybe not. But it's definitely going to ultimately end up being Miami as far as I'm concerned because it is right, and that's where he belongs.
Both places make sense. You know, Cleveland, you have a shot at a championship, and Miami, as you said, is where he belongs. He won a championship before LeBron ever got there with, by the way, a finals performance that no one had seen since Michael Jordan was in the finals. I mean, he had a better finals than anyone since Jordan, and that included Kobe and Shaq and everyone. He was the best finals performer since Jordan. So, right, a first ballot Hall of Famer, all those things. But Stephen A., if he goes to Miami, they're better and they're pretty good now. If he goes to Cleveland, he will challenge but ultimately lose a championship because they still won't be good enough, even with him and Kyrie, to unseat Golden State. But Stephen A., when you talk about Pat Riley making the mistake, maybe from a kind of like a moral point of view, right? Like he should have kept Wade in Miami. But in fact, if Wade signs for the mid-level exception in Miami, Pat Riley was smart because Wade outpriced himself. He wanted more than he was worth on the open market from Miami. And the reason he's stuck in Chicago is because he took the money in Chicago. I mean, he did that to himself. And now if he takes the mid-level exception from Miami, then Miami is proven right. We got Wade back and we didn't have to pay him like a superstar.
From the periphery, I understand where you're coming from, and it's certainly sensible the position that you're taking. Let me give you the inside information. Dwyane Wade had $40 to $41 million on the table. He left for Chicago for 47, bro. $6 million, okay? Total over the course of a couple of years, okay? Come on. As far as I'm concerned, you don't leave. You know, there was more money on the table for him to go to Milwaukee. It was more money on the table for him to go to Denver. But he chose to go to Chicago because in his mind, you know, if I'm going to leave Miami, the only justifiable alternative is to go to my hometown, a team that I dreamed of playing for one day. But after Michael Jordan, everybody is secondary. That would have been Kobe. That would have been D. Wade. Having said all of that, if you're Pat Riley, you got to remember, you signed Hassan Whiteside to his $93 million deal or whatever it was. $4 million of those dollars, Hassan Whiteside was willing to lay aside in order to acquire Kevin Durant in free agency. Kevin Durant decides to take his talents to Golden State. So if that's the case, why not use that money to give it to Wade since you were going to give it to Kevin Durant? You could have done that if you're Miami. And you don't do that, not for $4 million, Max. Not for $4 million. That's
I'll tell you why. That's why I say in the big picture of doing the right thing by your franchise player and all who got you there, that I understand. But in terms of actual business, Wade didn't get tremendous like max deal offers from around the league, which suggests because he's injury prone and older, what the league thought about him at the time. And that includes Miami. And now he's going to go back to Miami, according to you, likely, it's a good chance, on a mid-level exception deal, that extra money.
Yeah.
You know, in theory, the extra money, like the difference between what they were offering Wade or what it would have taken to sign him and the mid-level exception, in theory, you use that money to make your team better. Now, they weren't going to win a championship with or without him anyway. And I want to say one more thing about Chicago.
Who's on Miami making a contribution at $3 or $4 million, Max?
Right. I said theoretically. Whether they actually went out and did it properly
18, 19 a game.
That's a separate issue. Whether or not they then optimized their chances with that extra money, that's their business. Maybe they messed that up. I'm talking about theoretically. Wade going to Chicago did make sense because he went home while he was still really good, because he's still a really good player when he's on the floor. He got to experience that, and if not for injuries, Chicago may have made real noise in the playoffs. They weren't going to get out of the East, but real noise in the playoffs last year. So he had that experience.
Real noise if he had stayed in Miami.
Him.
If he had stayed in Miami, he would have been in the playoffs with Miami instead of the Bulls. And with Hassan Whiteside and Dragic and those boys, they could have made some noise.
But they weren't going to the finals anyway, and now the Heat get him back cheap.